This agenda item is on the initial discussion for the council legislative item entitled Consideration of Revising the Tobacco Ordinance and a Moratorium on New Tobacco Retailers during the revisions process. Staff is seeking direction from council on how it wishes to proceed with this item. Tonight's presentation includes a high overview of current regulations that the city has adopted through ordinance, a review of additional regulatory options for council, and then the effort is to obtain direction on which to explore for deeper analysis to bring back to council. So the current code provisions that we have include the smoking pollution control, which prohibits smoking in identified areas, including outdoor eating areas, public spaces, including parks, restrooms, libraries, etc., and most recently, multi-unit housing. It requires employers to have a smoking policy and train on it. Proper signage is required, and self-certification in the business license process. And then finally, like I said, the multi-unit housing smoking prohibitions are more recent and has additional procedural requirements listed in there specific to multi-unit housing. We have another code provision that applies to tobacco, which is a retailer permit, which is in our licenses section. It requires any tobacco retailer must have a tobacco retailer permit. The permit requires a fixed location, one permit per location, and displayed publicly. It prohibits retailing within 1,000 feet of schools unless it's a grandfathered location. The permit process is managed by the Finance Department in consultation with the Police Department. And penalties for violations include civil penalties up to $5,000, a ban on renewal permits for up to 5 years, or other civil actions that are available to the city. So in considering direction, we're asking for council to identify its intention regarding tobacco and smoke within the City of Gilroy. It could range anywhere from maintaining the status quo all the way to total ban. There's a range of options and levels of regulation in between those two. In the package included a table that came from County Department of Public Health of the different cities and where their different regulations stand. And then identifying, based on that goal, what regulations are desired to meet that intention. So which are interested in council for us to pursue. From that, we'll then analyze those and come back for essentially the second phase, which is to identify what enforcement provisions and procedural steps would be required in order to implement those regulations that council may desire to pursue. So in the packet is a listing of identified regulation activities that have been identified. There may be others out there that we're just not aware of at this point in time. But some of these include reducing exposure to secondhand smoke in public and common areas. So this include like entryways, service areas, banning all outdoor dining, smoking, reducing the density of tobacco outlets. This could include placing a distance between the locations or setting an absolute cap on the number of tobacco outlets that are able to be open. You could limit sales near schools, expand that 1,000-foot prohibition area. You could look at regulating flavored tobacco, restrictions or bans. Some other cities limit sales in pharmacies for tobacco products. You could restrict the sales of all tobacco and vaping products. Some cities have done total bans on vaping. None have done tobacco entirely. And then increasing fees for tobacco retailer permits, basically setting the bar higher in order to gain access or open a business for tobacco retail. And then you could also look at zoning changes to restrict allowable locations for tobacco in certain zones or land use areas of the city. And finally, not as much limiting the number, but you can also enhance storefront advertising controls and addressing infraction fine amounts, increasing it to make it a little more harder on violating businesses that may violate the tobacco retailer permit process. So that's the kind of the whirlwind tour of the options. The city did receive grant funding of $40,000 this calendar year for evaluating potential implementation of two of those measures, which is reducing the density of tobacco outlets and flavored tobacco restrictions and bans. Any other work as far as implementing or researching this would be at the city's cost. So the direction requested is to seek what council's vision is for the smoking control, what envisioned when it had this on the legislative agenda item, and then identifying what regulatory activities council is interested in being analyzed and brought back for consideration of council in the future. And additionally, if in that process there's any specific information or analysis that council wants to ensure is included, to let us know that as well, and we'll make sure that's included as part of that process. And that completes the presentation.
Sure. I'll start with Councilmember Bracco.
Bryce, at the beginning of your presentation, did I see right that you're putting rules on all the businesses in town too?
No, this is it's already in the code. So this is it's actually may have predated. So it's a lot of regulation came as far as smoking indoors, restaurants, etc. So this is a legacy ordinance. So that's already in effect.
Okay.
If that explains it, yeah. And some of these codes may predate further tobacco regulations have already come down from the state in between when that original ordinance was adopted to the present day.
But going around businesses in town, most of them don't sell cigarettes anymore. It's like, what, 4 tobacco retailers we have?
So we have, so yes,
More?
the finance department's reported there's 50 permits that they're currently issued.
Okay.
What is the time frame on that grant? Does it have an expiration date?
The end of this calendar year.
Okay, so December 31. Okay. I'm just trying to see. I know this is part of our legislative agenda, but it's also on the work plan for admin work plan. It's discretionary, so where does that fall? And I know we're going through changes right now, and especially with our new city administrator. So to me, I don't know if right now is the time to take it on because we're trying to figure some stuff out and maybe table that for a little bit of time to come back. I don't know. I don't know what other people's thoughts are.
If I can get away on that one. So one of the concepts for coming early to council to seek that is to identify the strategies that council may not want to have included in that. So we've provided the menu of options. And so we really kind of identify what council is interested in pursuing, and if there's items that council doesn't have an appetite to address in that. And that helps us control the universe of analysis that we're going to be doing and makes us be able to produce more quickly. And jumping out now, we have the full 2 years of the work plan process to complete it. We can still do work beyond the grant. And if there's other items that are of the interest to council, that would be outside the grant. But it's a relatively low cost. It's more on the implementation side where those funds will come.
Councilmember Hilton.
So over the past 12 years, there used to be something called the South County United for Health, started by Supervisor Wasserman like 12, 13 years ago. And slowly that group has had different representatives on there, but they all still keep in touch. So that same coalition that emailed us those 2 public comments is the same coalition that's come back every year. It's like, do the parks, do this, do that. And I agree with you, Councilmember Klein. Like, we are in a busy time, but the grant specifically itself that I've been working on with public health and with others was, is to really sort of go after that tobacco retail license, right? And that specific aspect, staying away from citywide businesses and trying to get involved in what we did a couple of years ago. I would say that, we have the expertise with public health department to lean on along with them and their coalition. So I don't think would be a huge heavy lift to be able to outsource, portions of this funding that we have to get those expertise for them to come in. And, a couple of things that this is really rooted in, you were talking about, vision. I'd mentioned the Latino health assessment earlier. We were actually a champion on a lot of this stuff back in 2011, 2012. One of the first cities to start, doing a lot of these tobacco prevention policies in the Healthy Cities dashboard. And then we kind of tapered off a little bit. So this is sort of us coming back up with the norm. But, I'm really wanting to make sure that we focus on addressing health challenges, including, poor nutrition, smoking, diabetes, lack of exercise. Gilroy still is one of the highest, in the county when it comes to those things. Frequent and recurring exposure to secondhand smoke specifically can cause health problems such as asthma, heart disease, lung cancer, stroke, sudden infant death syndrome, and as well as worsened chronic illnesses. But while we are getting this work done, and like I said, a lot of this work's already started, I would like us to take that we did get on the legislative work plan to be able to look at the moratorium. It's super easy to do. We already have copies of it. There's best practices. Campbell went through this, and the reason why Campbell went through it is because they had something like 42 just pumping out, and they had no regulations in place, and they had no way to say, stop, stop, stop. And I'll give you an example that happened in Gilroy, is that we had one of those establishments open up down on Forest and Leavesley, which was one of the ones that got in trouble earlier this year for selling flavored tobacco products and some hallucinogenics, some magic mushrooms. 4 of them got cited. One there, and then that new one up on Monterey Road that just happened to pop up. It's 1,000 feet away, which is regulatory, that's fine. But right in the middle of there, our mayor was there at the groundbreaking, is Santa Clara Family Health Plan is putting in a community resource center in the middle of these tobacco shops that I'm sure the 50 that are on that list that might be selling a pack of cigarettes or cigar, I'm not worried about those. But it's the children that are inside of our schools and those young that are vulnerable that go towards vaping for coping and that kind of stuff. So I just want to make sure that, number one, that at least at a very minimum, we can do what's in that grant and move forward with that. Have public health help us with that, and do a moratorium. Look, and like I said, we have the language that's available, and we could. I mean, it's quick enough that we could bring it back next meeting after city attorney reviews it, if we wanted to. But I just want to throw all those out on the table. That is a possibility for another one to be going through the process right now and opening up. Thank you.
Sure. Councilmember Fugazzi.
So 50 permits, but we don't have 50 open stores in the city. Is that fair to say? I mean, do we think it's 20 that we have in the city? Is it 50? I mean, again, if you're going to have a moratorium on something, how do you know how many is the right number to have, right? Is part of that. Many of the other parts of these things I'm not a fan of at all, because I think adults can do what adults want to do. Anything that's pointed towards the kids, including those that are grandfathered in to be less than 1,000 feet or whatever, I'm all for figuring out how they can't sell it to anybody else and grandfather it to the next owner of it, and we can work those out of the system. Super fan of jacking up all the fines and everything else we can possibly do for people who are violating, who are selling things that they shouldn't be selling in these, whether it be drug paraphernalia or magic mushrooms or any of these kind of things that happen. I'm super in favor of creating even a bonding program where if you want to create a new TRP, then you have to put up $10,000, right? That slowly goes back to you as you don't have any fines or you don't have any violations. That makes them be on the hook. So I do think that we do have a very filled calendar right now, and if somebody were to say, yeah, but there's $250,000 of money out there waiting for us, you might pique my interest a little bit more on that. But right now I don't know that it's a good time, and for me the only things I would really be looking at is making it harder to maybe open a business, only such that they have to really have skin in the game, that they have to lose if they do it the wrong way. That's about all I can say.
Councilmember Ramirez. Oops, sorry, Councilmember Klein, you're next.
So, thank you, Bryce. Can you go back to the slide that talked, go back, grant funding. There we go. Okay, so we've got this $40,000 grant. It's already been granted. And what exactly does it cover? Does it cover staff time to study this?
So this is a great question. So this covers costs for legal review. So in pursuing the ordinance, it would cover city attorney's time. It covers time and costs for our business license company, HUDL, in order to do the process they would have to do to implement whatever measures are come from the direction from council on these two. It also covers development of advertisement, public education materials. That's a very large part of that as well.
And is it expected to cover all the costs if we move on something?
No, it'll cover all the costs up to that certain amount within those categories.
So
if we go beyond the budget, obviously
we're going to still have to dip into the general fund in order to complete whatever project or whatever direction we go.
It would be more. There could be a small amount of general fund. That's one of the analysis. Once we have the options of what council is going to pursue, we can identify what those funds are. But a lot of the work really is administrative, so it's staff time. So it's basically the opportunity cost of what staff spends the time doing.
And it's time away from other legislative items that we have on our.
Yeah, it'd be a balancing
Okay.
between the different directions from council.
Thank you. My interest at this point is I would support flavored tobacco restrictions because I think that they are directed specifically to kids. Other than that, I think to echo Councilmember Fugazi, adults are adults. Again, I don't mind increasing fines if they are in violation. In fact, I am certainly not opposed to shutting down immediately first-time offenses. If you're selling things you're not supposed to be selling, mushrooms and things like that, shut it down. Very simple. And then we don't have to deal with it. It doesn't cost us anything. It's just done. But as far as adults buying cigarettes at the other places, I just, that's up to adults.
Councilmember Klein.
Well, it's behavioral is what we're talking about, and I think a big component of this is education. I think with like the youth task force that we have and what they bring into the schools, especially with the different demographics of our community and how they're impacted, it's important to get that education in there and showing them not just some of these things are great, but to legislate that behavior can be tough because people are going to do what people are going to do. So that's my concern with that too, that component of education and really helping the kids see, don't do that.
And if I can just comment back about like if there's going to be funds that go beyond this, this is really just a policy to put in place, and then when there's enforcement or anything that goes on beyond that, it's just a regular thing. Or if they pull a permit, they would say, yeah, but we've already studied the density of tobacco outlets. We're not doing 1,000 anymore. It's 1,500 now. So I wouldn't say that there wouldn't be any more code enforcement or more staff time down the road that would have to go into any of this stuff. But another resource that our city has now, and they partnered with them when they raided those 4 stores, is the state taxation. So the taxation board is now getting involved because a lot of times what happens is that we lose out and the state loses out on sales tax dollars of these places because they say, sure, but hey, my Venmo is this, my Zelle is that, and so they're losing out on that. So that's why the state got involved, and I don't know how that cost share happened for the enforcement thing, but we have teams that go around. And every police department joins up, and these task forces around the county to do targeted enforcement to help each other out. So we all help each other out. I don't look at this as like ongoing cost or whatever. It's literally like spend the $40,000, have it all taken back into us, send that message to our organizations and our partners, like South County Youth Task Force and others that are in the community to say, we're also doing something too. And I can tell you too, I just found out today that one of the organizations that the Santa Clara County Office of Education has called TOOP, and our SR knows what TOOP is. I know what TOOP is because I've tabled next to them. They got, I don't want to say it's defunded, but they're gone. And they were literally in our schools around the county, but in Gilroy schools multiple times, basically talking to kids. I was there at South Valley Middle School during a mental health week, and we were just trying to provide resources. They're there literally because kids go and vape, and they use those products to cope. So this is also showing them too that we are going to make it as hard as possible on these organizations to not put another one in as much as we can. But unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to go down your route because that's going to take up a whole lot of time and stuff. But what this continues to do is to show our partners who came to us, who came to Bryce and came to me and said, we have grant funding. Do you want some? It's because we're continuing to have that relationship and being a partner. So, I don't want to say, hopefully we're not going in the direction we say no to this, but at the same time, we say yes to this and allow them to do this. It could open up something in the next couple of years, where someone says, hey, actually, you know what? We appreciated everything you did. These coalitions that write in for public comment, we appreciate what you did. There's private funding now available, or this organization is going to give you more money, or I don't know, maybe someone hears the call that that TOOP got canceled, and there's a way to bring that organization back. So thank you for letting me go on a little bit. Appreciate it.
I have a question regarding, I think you mentioned there's 50 some odd permits for selling tobacco. So that would include like a gas station on the side of town that's selling cigarettes, right?
Correct.
And this idea of moratorium, the one you spoke about and the one that you said potentially, you're suggesting the smoke shops, not a moratorium to sell tobacco products.
Correct. It would be very specific, so that way I'm not going to name them out, but those, especially those that got raided and those type of shops that open up are not allowed during the time period where we are discussing this. That's what I'm proposing.
Is there a,
So how many of those are in town right now? That's like the question I have.
There's at least 6. I don't know, maybe the PD can say it, but I know 6 because
So what's a good number?
6. What do you mean?
Well,
No. That's not what we're saying. I'm not trying to regulate on a max amount of retailers that are allowed. That's not the discussion we're getting into. We're saying there's a moratorium until we can figure out what the tobacco density is, how far away apart they can be from one another. Right now it's 1,000 feet, and they can't be within schools within 500 feet. We're not going to legislate and say no more than 40 are allowed in the city. That's not the direction.
you're saying it's not good enough the way it is right now at 1,000 feet.
If I could just iterate, so there's no distance right now between vendors.
I think it's 1,000. It's 1,000 feet.
It's 1,000 feet between a school and a vendor.
That's what I thought.
There's no density restriction in the code between vendors at this point.
Sure.
Yeah.
which makes it even more difficult. They
I think
pop
it's,
up
I think it's
anywhere.
500 feet for schools and 1,000 between vendors, but I've been reading this over a lot.
No, I think
Yeah.
no. I think we all understand now. We've defined that there's 50 some odd to be able to sell tobacco, but right now we're talking about the smoke shops. So okay.
Yeah, and what my point is I'm not a big person in favor of trying to figure out what the market needs to bear for people that want to have smoke shops, right? And I get that people don't want kids doing it, but that's kind of what organizations and parents and everything else are for in that respect. And I don't know that we know that, and I hate to use this word, but we have enough for the market in town to say no more, okay? They will self-regulate to what the market demand will be. That's the kind of person the way I look at things is the market demand. So I don't like the idea of just going, yeah, we're going to stop this, and then we're going to tell you exactly how many we're going to have and how far apart they're going to be and all of that. I'm just not a fan of that at all. I think that the market will help determine this. You put the right regulations on people to say they can't sell to these people or these people. Maybe it's an advertising thing, so you can't have a fruity banana thing out front to sell, vapes or something. But outside of that, I don't think we need to spend more cycles on this to work on it. At least not in this fiscal year for sure. But
Well, I'm willing to put it on the record because this is what I think it is. I think it's 500 feet from you can't have it near a school. And the reason why St. Mary's is allowed, that smoke shop on First Street that puts out the smoke shop sign, the A-frame, is allowed to be so close to St. Mary's is because we started regulating this in 2012, and they've been open forever. But they weren't on that list that get rated anyways. I mean, should they be there? Whatever. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, and they're allowed to be grandfathered. And one of the tobacco density things that we could do, and I'm not suggesting we do it, is you could say we want one tobacco shop for every 1,000 people, right? That was an option that was sitting in here. It's like you could do that, or you could do, for like the density, the feet wise. I think it is they are not allowed to be within 1,000 feet of each other. I'm pretty sure because I measured the distance. So I'm going to say that. What this will do is this will study that and allow us to, because we're not making a decision tonight, this will allow us to bring it back and staff could say the 1,000 is fine, that's what the market wants or whatever, but we suggest it should be maybe 1,500 or we can go up to 2,000 at that point. But I'm not suggesting that we all of a sudden get in the business of trying to say how many should be in town. That was never the point of this, and that wouldn't be a part of my motion, and that's not a part of this density thing that we got the grant funding for either.
Can I make a motion?
Not yet. We have to go to public comment.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I have no speakers.
Okay. So before Councilmember Ramirez gets to make her motion, Is there any more comments? Because again, I don't believe that we're taking action on this tonight. We're just giving direction. So it sounds like to me that we're in agreement on most of the comments tonight. We might be a little bit of disagreement on the direction we're giving regarding a potential moratorium. Not a moratorium, a potential moratorium, right?
Well, I want to put that on the table, because if we're going to do a moratorium during this, we need to make that decision tonight. I'm not held to the moratorium. If you want to take that off the table, but then that's fine. But I don't want to lose out on this work and what's already been. Frankly, we got a grant for it, and it's not reinventing any wheel. All this stuff exists out there. It's not going to be hard to do.
So I appreciate the work you've done. I appreciate the collaboration with the other agencies and creating ongoing relationships with these in terms of what we can do moving forward. I just personally don't want a lot of staff attention at this time given, other than perhaps to, ban the sale of, look into what it would be to ban the sale of flavored tobacco, because I think that is directed at the youth. And the other thing is looking at just creating a policy where if these tobacco shops are doing things they're not supposed to be doing, they're shut down.
So that one is outside the scope of the grant.
Oh, okay. So that one is outside. Darn.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you wouldn't mind also maybe looking at reduced density of tobacco outlets, because experts already do that. And they can bring the decision back to you.
I'm going to leave that piece up to others. I don't have a passion for that one way or the other, so if others do, I just...
So imagine Monterey Road being lined up nowhere near a school with a bunch of smoke shops. It already happened. It happened right in the middle, right in between a community center. It happened already, and both those places were raided.
Why don't you go ahead and kind of clarify and wrap up what you believe everyone is about to agree to, and then you can make your statement on the moratorium. And let's see, because we just need direction, correct? Is that acceptable?
Yeah, we're certainly not adopting a moratorium
Right.
tonight.
No. But he could kind of wrap up his opinion.
So if you could go back to that slide but with the grant, it had those two options on it. So my direction would be that basically continue the work that we're doing with this $40,000, finish it off by the calendar year. Thankfully we have someone like Bryce who's been working on this as the assistant city administrator. Not going to give you another task to learn how to do, but this, having a full-time city clerk, this is exactly the kind of stuff that Bryce was already working on. And if there happens to be another monitoring that needs to get done, it's paid for. So the focus would be these two decision items that they can bring back to us before the end of the calendar year. If I can get that through and say, forget about the moratorium, if I could get us to at least agree on that.
How many man hours are we talking about here? Just roughly.
So to bring the internal process to bring the items to council, we're probably talking 15 to 20 hours.
Plus
That's-
legal, right?
It's the plus the legal. Where it becomes a challenge is the implementation side, which is what a lot of this money is for, and that's the working with HDL and others to actually implement and do the educational materials.
Now, do you have an extra 15 or 20, or could we possibly use that time better against the swimming pool issue that we happen to have, that it's also going to be in your wheelhouse to get finished up? Or you have surplus?
So the reason we're doing this is identify and make sure we do a proper balance. So I can get additional staff support. So the recreation is definitely a higher priority. That's also a much bigger project. That one's going to take a lot. This one, there's already support that we have with public health for these items of the grant. So they have consultants who also assist with this. So that's why
So they'd be idle if we didn't give them this?
I'm sorry, say again?
They'd be idle if we didn't give them this?
They'd be working on, I'm assuming, other cities. I don't know what they would be.
Okay.
Yeah. But they're consultants paid by the county. There's no cost impact to us for this. Except for our staff time. I meant as far as their consultant time.
Okay, so Councilmember Hilton wrapped up his comments, and he did not include the conversation about a moratorium at this point in time.
I'll take it off if that helps.
Yeah.
You guys allow this work to continue, and I know we have a lot of stuff that we balanced over the last 6 months, but to me, we have more partners and more skin in the game in something like this than we do with a swimming pool. So, I don't want to do tit for tat on that kind of stuff. Just please let this move forward. It's already bad enough that tube got lost, and we have funding for it, right? We always tell city staff or whatever, go out and find us grant funding.
This is something that's really not that important to me, but it's something that I've voted in favor of it every time for Councilmember Hilton because it is important to him. So I'll
appreciate
be
it.
supporting it.
And I'll support it.
Thank you.
Yeah, all right.
support
Looks
it.
like we have a majority of direction.
Thank you.
When we come back with that pool.
Yeah, everyone gave a thumbs up already, so, or an affirmative action. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council.
Guys, great job, great questions.
And staff is clear on the direction, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's take a 10-minute break and be back here at 8:20.